Hello and welcome back to stephentozarealestate.com.au. Today we're going to talk about auctions. How do auctions work? Well, there's always a lot of debate about auctions and everyone's got an opinion on it. It doesn't matter whether you're a buyer, a seller or a real estate agent. Well, what I'm just going to go through here, I'm going to go through a few positives and negatives, I'll go through the process and I'll leave the rest to you. The positives, now they're very successful in New South Wales and Victoria. I read on the weekend there was over 1,000 auctions alone in Victoria. So that's got to say there's something that's beneficial of an auction if one state can have that many auctions. The governments like to use auctions because I feel that is the best representation of the market. There's no bias or misleading facts. And everything I give you today about the auctions pertains to Queensland only. So if you are watching this from another state, make sure you speak to your relative real estate agents in your own state or look up some information there, because the laws do change a little bit from state to state, as the laws will be changing here in Queensland towards the end of 2014. Now, with auctions in Queensland, it can be argued that they work better in some areas than others, but at the end of the day, it's got to be as a bit of a uniqueness. A property is probably a little bit hard to price, or a property that you feel as though is going to get a lot of competition that might end up getting a little bit better price than it could be if it had a price tag on it. One of the benefits of an auction is it compresses down the buy period. Generally, auctions are the pre-auction period is about 2 to 4 weeks, and it creates a sense of urgency with buyers and ultimately creates some competition, which determines where the price is going to go to. At the end of the day, the price is determined as value for money. And it really gives you complete transparency, because when buyers are together, they see who else is potentially buying it and also what is being offered, and people can determine whether they want to draw the line. At times it can push the price up above the seller's expectation, so that's another big benefit for it. But ultimately you're getting the buyers to the property based on the property's attributes and the features that property offers rather than the price. Think about when you go looking for a property. What is your first objection? Your first criteria is generally going to be price. Taking that price away from it, and you're getting the buyer to potentially fall in love with what that property offers, and you never know what that buyer may go to. Negatives. Now, people sort of feel as though an auction, if it doesn't sell under the hammer, it's a failure. Well, let me ask you this. Is an auction a failure if the property sells, say, within a week of the auction, say within 37 or 40 days of being on the market, compared to a private treaty that has maybe been on the market for 60 days? I put that to you. When you go to auctions, all your buyers aren't going to be in the position to bid. Some won't want to bid, some might not be able to bid, they might not be able to get themselves in the position to be able to do the things. Some might not like the property because it doesn't have a price. So for everyone that's going to come to the property based on the property because it hasn't got a price, you're going to have other people who are going to not go to the property because it hasn't got a price. But I guess it begs the question, were those people actually going to buy your property because it hasn't got a price tag on it? They maybe weren't really interested in your property in the first place. It can be difficult to attract buyers, and some think that going to auction can be a little bit desperate. So there's some of the little negatives that can sort of feel about the auction process. Now, the overall auction process is divided into 3 different stages. You got the pre-auction stage, generally around about 2 to 4 weeks, and the idea is here you've got to have a very healthy advertising program. We want to try and grab buyers from any area we can. Internet is generally where a lot of people go these days, but rightly or wrongly, some people are steering away from the print media. But pick up your local newspaper your local major newspapers such as the Courier Mail, Sydney Morning Herald, Melbourne Age, and you'll find a big real estate section, big glossy photos and things like that. So you might be dragging some of those buyers, if you've got some photos in that area, you might be grabbing some buyers from different areas that weren't necessarily going to look in your suburb. And the professional photos you've had taken on your property may grab some of those buyers. And you never know, it creates a lot more competition. So the advertising has to be right to grab as many buyers as you can. You want to listen to the feedback. You want to make sure that your agent is giving you good feedback. Now there's a number of different ways you can do that, and that, I don't have enough time to go into that now, but it's important that you get all the positives and the negatives back from the buyers, whether they're interested in the property or not, so you can use that to decipher which way you're going come the auction day. Determining how many buyers are going to be interested in your property can be determined whether they get a bank valuation, a pest in building inspection, whether they want to bring some friends or family to come have a look at a second inspection. And because one of the benefits of having an auction is the property is bought unconditionally. So there's no cooling off period, pest and building inspections and valuations are done prior to auction. So there's no finance clause in the contract. So on fall of the hammer on the auction day, the property goes unconditional. They pay a deposit up to 10%, and generally, or at least in Queensland, settles 30 days later. So you can use some things like a comparative market analysis or some written descriptions. It must be agreed to by the owner to allow the agent to be able to give some sort of guidance to the buyers, but ultimately disclosing price guides or disclosing any prices or any sort of price relevance is illegal in Queensland. So it has to be agreed to, and generally in writing. These days there's a lot of areas that the buyers can go to do their own research. So a good buyer will go along and find that, but you may want to sort of point some buyers in the right direction. That's arguable whether that is the right thing to do. Come auction day. Now we're coming up to auction day. Now you've had a lot of feedback from your real estate agent, and either the day before or the day of is when you want to discuss your reserve. It's generally not really good to discuss it beforehand. There's no real point. You have an idea of what your pricing might be, and based on the feedback that you've got from the market via your real estate agent will determine whether it's going to be above your expectations or potentially below. But it is good to consider, have a plan A and plan B. Bidders, we want to see as many bidders as we can, but as I mentioned earlier, not all bidders can register to bid on the day. We want to know how many people are parked on the sidelines, because they could also be used to put a little bit of pressure on the potential bidders on the day. Some of them might not be able to secure finance in time. Some may not want to bid at auction, but it's good to know those are there should they be required post the auction. But also they're taking the risk because it may sell under the hammer. Alright, then we come to the auction, the bids go up, and there are some people who will make the bid, register the bid and not make a bid. But we want to, it comes back to your real estate agent there to sort of really have a good idea about who's going to bid and who's not going to bid, and encourage those bids on the day. Hopefully we've got more than one bidder, which creates a competition, but it is still very achievable to be able to sell the property with one registered bidder. This is where our sidelined buyers come into play. Then we have post-auction. If the property doesn't sell under the hammer, then we go to the post-auction mode. If it sells under the hammer, great, it's sold. It then goes 30 days or whatever whatever your terms might be to be sold and settled on that 30th day or whatever. The deposit is paid, and you start planning and organising yourself to move. If we move into the post-auction stage where it hasn't sold under the hammer, we go back and we sit with the agent and we review the feedback. Now, if we listen to what the market has been saying, we will then determine a price. Obviously, immediately after the auction, if there's a bidder still left there, we can negotiate with them. And now our other bidders come into play as well that weren't able to register or bid at the auction. The difference now is each of those people only get one offer. It's going to be their first offer, best offer, last offer. It is not another Dutch auction, and everything is done behind closed doors. So now the bidders do not know what the other one is bidding. So again, we have a sense of communication, competition, sense of competition. We then determine what our market price is going to be. If we can't get any agreement there, and if we follow what the market has been saying, you will generally find that you'll get a sale within the first 2 weeks after the auction. If it's longer than that, you're probably not listening to the market correctly, and it could potentially work against you. But overall, auctions can be very exciting. They can produce some great results, and it gets you to know what the market is doing. So if the market is on a move and is moving up quickly, well, this is probably a good time to do it, because you can't put your finger on the price exactly. So if you'd like to know some more about auctions, go further down the page on my web page there and look for my premium price guide. I go into a little bit more detail about auctions and other forms of marketing. But auctions are something to consider amongst other strategies in selling your home. I hope you found the video informative. My name is Stephen Tozer, Centenary Suburbs' most trusted opinion. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.